This is Sunday at Mike's. Yet again, another Sunday at Mike's show that we're doing here on the Upstairs to the Right Music channel. As always, I am so glad to be here to be able to make this live stream possible. And I can't do it without you. Of course, having you here is always a great thing, always greatly appreciated. And with time being the valuable thing that it is, you spending a little bit of yours here with me is always going to be greatly appreciated. So thank you so much. Let me make some adjustments here. It's funny. I look at other people's live streams and things of that nature, and usually, they're really up close on the camera. And I wonder to myself, am I too laid back? should should I be getting a little closer? So I think we'll tell you what I'll do is I'll do it like this. And yeah, that's about as close as I want to get. Hey Ben, how you doing? Mr. Watson in the house, how are you doing? Gentlemen, good to have you here. Good to be here. Um, while we wait for more people to show up here in the live stream, I shall pontificate about things that have occurred here at the Upstairs Ride Music Studio. Well, the point is, I'm actually taking the studio apart. I am disassembling all the recording and redoing my desk here and putting the recording stuff away, actually, to tell you the truth. As I've told you before, I'm sort of stopped with my recording. Don't worry, I will have my pedal board still set up, my portable setups still set up, so that for videos in the future, if I feel like demoing something, maybe something that just got unboxed, I can do that. But I won't be doing any recording in the foreseeable future, and I'd like to kind of clean up in here a little bit. And actually, it's a very cathartic kind of thing to do, to tell you the truth, because it's sort of like, okay, I did that. I'm very happy with what I did, and I can move on from there. And if you look at YouTube and any of the videos that are coming on recently, I'm sort of, as I was sitting here waiting for the live to come on, I was sort of scanning through YouTube videos. Of course, my feed is geared towards the things that I'm interested in mostly. But in terms of guitar channels, it seems pretty dour. There's not there are a lot of reviews of things, but those aren't doing so great. It's interesting. I look at what other people are doing and how well those are doing, and there's just some genres right now that just seem to be kind of in the pits. And guitar reviews, for some reason, seems to be one of them. I recently also saw on Gary Wayne's channel over at Gary's Guitars, he was giving his advice about what did he say here? I mean, is it here? A starter guitar is what's a good starter guitar and what isn't. And just scanning through the comments and seeing what people were saying, pretty much. And I'll use this as an example of what I mean about guitar channels and YouTube. Pretty much well down the line, when you look at the comment section in that video, a lot of guys, older guys like me, tell the kind of stories like the one that I tell. That the guitar that I started on was not the greatest. As a matter of fact, there was one I started on that just really discouraged me, and then the one that I picked up later wasn't that much better. But I did eventually move on to better instruments. And I think now on YouTube, and another video related to that, just to show you how my mind thinks, completely different related thing, where a guy was just talking about consumer fatigue all the way around. This brother was talking about how many TVs do you need? In other words, he was going through the point that all these sales on these electronics that, how many do you need in your house? Uh, uh, and even taking that a little bit further, I thought, well, it's kind of interesting that with a TV, a guitarist will say, I got a TV, I'm good. But with guitars, it's never enough. So it's funny where we put our interest in, where somebody who's interested in monitors and things of that nature may, have a house full of them. But either way, the consumer mood towards both of those products is extremely low right now, extremely low. And the YouTube videos kind of reflect that. Again, getting back to Gary guitars and the consumers of my age who were reflecting, well, the guitars that we had weren't that great. At least nowadays, you can get a starter or quote unquote beginner guitar that actually would smoke any of the ones that we had when we were younger. Which is true considering the fact that I was raised on a lot of Korean chord guitars, not the good ones either. And this, certainly not the ones that I've had through recently. I'd have given my eye teeth to have one of these nice chord guitars that I've unboxed recently here on the channel. But it's just a funny thing to me. But the consumer out there, the other part of the comment section in that was, "Hey, I'm kind of good," and people basically see $200 as being probably the baseline limit. I'm talking about just ordinary folks out there of what they'd be willing to spend on a guitar. Lemonade 5125, you got yourself quite a little few handles there. Welcome to you. Good to have you here. Thank you. I hope you're not spam, but you probably are. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. But anyway, even the spam guys are welcome here tonight. Um, yeah, dig that, guys. And honestly speaking, I'm not surprised. I kind of hinted in the last live stream about the psychology of music and how that affects us. Also kind of touched upon how as a music producer you should be aware of these things, obviously, if you want to get over a certain emotion in the music that you're creating. And I'm going to expand upon that a little bit tonight, I thought, when I sat down to write this today, because I like where we were going last week, our last discussion, and last discussion, and thought that I would expand upon it. And actually, now tis the season to give a real life example of what I was talking about, the psychology of music and how it affects you and how you're programmed to have it affect you. Boy, this is the season for that. Without any question, you are getting bombarded. And, you know, without getting too deep into the weeds here, let me just review what I talked about last time. Music just isn't a sound, it's neuroscience actually in motion. And what I mean by that is when we hear a chord progression, like a C in A major to an F to a G, for example, um, this is a very pleasant chord progression that actually releases, because of the pleasantness of it, it releases dopamine into the brain. Um, so, because dopamine, as you know, is the same, chemical that gets released in your brain when you fall in love or you eat chocolate, if some people, obviously, music has a strong effect. We know the effects of love and chocolate. And it's funny. Speaking of love and chocolate, I was uh, just pondering upon weird stuff in my brain. I was thinking about Thor: Love and Thunder. Did any of you guys see that movie? And I was thinking to myself, boy, oh boy, they should have never given Taika Waititi his own, creative freedom. Anyway, I digress. Um, you know, it has an effect on you. It's not because you're weak. It's just because you're wired that way. It's the way we came, which shows us that music actually comes from the divine, because there are mechanisms in our brain in order to receive it and to process it in a certain way. Um, And so when you yourself strum your guitar or play a chord on the piano or play a really nice bass line and you go, ooh, that was good. There's your dopamine hit right there, first of all. And this is your brain rewarding you. And retailers know that. Is where I'm going with all this. You're like, where are you going with all this, Mike? Retailers know this. They know this very well. And they know that dopamine, for a lack of a better way of putting it, opens wallets. So the holiday season and music psychology go hand in hand with each other. Every December, the playlist of the last few months goes out the door, and suddenly you hear sleigh bells, uh, choirs, and a lot of major key stuff. A lot of songs are written in major keys. If you really stop and think about it and listen, you're like, yeah, okay. And then you start to say to yourself, okay, that's interesting. Just that ching, 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 just that sound of jingle bells elicits a lot of wired memory in our brain. And part and parcel to the dopamine release is the connection to nostalgia. Nostalgia. I've hinted before. I've talked about half, half the time talked about uh, how nostalgia is used in order to drive sales. If possible. Uh, and you would say, okay, well, that's not with everything, Mike. Well, I give you the ballpoint pen, for example. If it's not a Waterford ballpoint pen, that, by the way, when they advertise it to you, they say, "Hey, this is the pen that was on the desk of presidents and kings across the world for for the last century." Then that's selling something like, "Well, I want to have a pen like a king. I want to write my letters." Who writes letters these days? Well, actually, I wrote a lot of Christmas cards, so there is one time a year where I certainly needed a good pen, and I actually did have a good pen, a Waterford, interestingly enough. But I just use that as an example. Yeah, anyway, I'm not going to get into how I got it, but in any case, just as an example, they'll use nostalgia, their history, and things of that nature in order to sell you a pen. When you and I both know that I could have written those Christmas cards with an ordinary Bic, and it would have done the job just as well. Just as you and I know that you can go into a studio with the latest limited edition Jimmy Page Les Paul and do the job, but you could go in there with a decent setup, a Japanese Greco, for example, one of the really nice ones, or one of the really high end Japanese Epiphones and do the same job as well. And so, of course, knowing that, they'll use the nostalgia in order to give you reasons why you'll choose one over the other. You know, Nostalgia is the strongest trigger in music psychology. A major chord progression plus jingle bells equals childhood memories. Uh, I like to watch uh, Christmas orientated shows during the run up to Christmas. I was watching Big Bang Theory Christmas episodes earlier today while I was stringing popcorn on a thread in order to put around my small little itty bitty Christmas tree that I, again, for nostalgia reasons, still feel the desire to put up. And I loved watching Bernadette singing. What was she singing? Santa Claus is coming to town. And the minute I heard that, of course, it brings back childhood memories. And childhood memories tie into emotional vulnerability. Okay. And emotional vulnerability actually ties into maybe the thought in our our thought process turns into maybe I deserve that pedal. Maybe I deserve that ice cream or that candy bar. Again, nostalgia, youth, emotional vulnerability. It kind of ties into this, inward thinking instead of how an adult would think. Let's put it that way. And I hate to put it that way, but that really is how it is. And brands understand this very well, as I said. Warm tube amp ads with fairy lights in the background I saw on YouTube. I saw vintage style guitars in snow covered promo shots I've seen. These are just examples of stuff that you can go on YouTube and find yourself. Holiday tone bundles being advertised on Sweetwater because apparently tone improves if it's wrapped in a nice little pretty red ribbon. I didn't know you could bundle tone, but okay, it's the psychology, also in the wording as well. And it's the psychology plus marketing plus music theory quietly opening wallets. And that's how that works. The three of these in conjunction with each other um, plays pretty well because it plays to a lot of things, again, like I said, that we're wired for. Maddie Two Hat, sir, how are you doing? Maddie, I'm so glad you were here. I caught a wave of what looks like to be some some spam here, maybe. And I said, "My gosh, I got my moderator. I don't, Scott. I don't know where you're at, brother, but welcome to you too, sir. Wherever you are, I hope you're fine. I hope you're doing well. Miss you here this evening. So I'm glad Maddie's here to step in. Yeah, I was like, okay, it's gonna be one of those nights. Good to have you here, Maddie. Thank you so much for being here, man. Um, yeah, you know, you really, I mean, of course, styles of music. Like, can I do this? Should I do this? Is this well advised? Can you guys hear this? That kind of boom, da, boom, da, that it reminds you of Bossa Nova. My E's out of tune. So a chord like that, that'll put you in mind of course, bossa nova, but it's a uplifting. It's a very happy. It's a very cheerful sound. The chords and the scales that they use. For example, like the Lydian scale is great for sci-fi movies, as it turns out. But these thoughts, when we hear this music, occur because our brain automatically assigns meaning to sound. When it hears it. Um, so you don't really think about it. You just kind of feel it. It's a feeling. When I played that chord and it had that feeling of summer in Brazil, for example. And we're wired for that. We're wired for that. Run Riot, welcome. How are you doing, sir? Good to have you here. Chromatic frequencies. Yeah, the light within. Yeah, I'm quite sure that found in the pyramid. Well, you know, I will say this much about the pyramid. The pyramid, from my studies, I hope he didn't get too bad there. That Matty, that wasn't too bad. He was okay. He was okay. You're right. You're all right. Light within. You just temporary time out, but I think you were making some interesting points. I like the weird stuff Because I will say this much about the pyramids. From my study, the Great Pyramid, the Great Pyramid, uh, were not anything that people tell you that they are. I really do think that they were stores of information because the way they were built and designed to withstand any kind of floods, for example, or temperature fluctuations and things of that nature. In terms of producing frequencies and things like that, if it does, it's in the geometry of it. It's just the way because the guys who designed it were on another level than even we are in this 21st century. We can't duplicate that. But in terms of frequencies coming from objects, man-made or natural, this in that case, like a structure man-made, these kind of frequencies are just part and parcel of nature. So there are, maybe there's something to that. Maybe you got a point, but it's still something that I define under natural. So there's nothing really weird there. The weird stuff comes in when you start getting into knowing the different scales, for example. I was mentioning the Lydian scale and how that's great for writing sci fi music. And I was talking about different chords and how just hearing them, you don't, it automatically make you feel the chord, you feel it. That's why they talk about feeling music. That stuff is where you can get played. And that's what I'm kind of getting into tonight. Our brain assigns meaning to sound automatically, automatically. And this, of course, leads into tone chasing, of course. Doing all right, Run Riot says, good to be here. I'm glad you're here. It's good to be here too. We don't just buy gear to own things, we buy the possibility, the identity, maybe, that it brings, and the promise of future creativity. Um, a pedal, for example, like this one, promises a better version of ourselves, we like to think. In other words, with this, I kicked ass before, but boy, when I plug into this, you know, it's just going to be fireworks. And I say it, in this kind of mocking kind of way because I've broke through that kind of thing. I won't allow for this kind of marketing to have any kind of effect on me or even to have those kind of thoughts. Quite the opposite. However, that is not true of everyone. And that new pedal to someone else represents or promises, should I say, better tone. And what it really promises, actually, the psychology is a better version of ourselves. If I get that pedal, I'm going to be just that much more cooler. I saw this guy who had a YouTube video where he did a very nice thing. Somebody brought a a Fender Strat into his shop to get set up. And the guy took one look at it and he said, I'm sorry, but he bought off Facebook Market, of course. He said, I'm sorry, but this is a fake. And of course, the father and the son were very disappointed. Oh, what do you mean it's fake? He showed them the different ways that it was a fake. You could, the minute you saw it, you knew it was a fake if you knew what you were looking for. But he ended up trading them the fake Fender for a nice Epiphone, a really nice one, and everybody was happy. But um, his reason for doing that, I found to be quite interesting, quite revealing. He said, I did it because I don't want that kid going amongst his friends with that fake Fender and them razzing him because he's playing a fake Fender guitar. What do they call them? Chipsons and I forget what they call it, chibbers or something like that. And I thought that was fascinating because it wasn't, he didn't say whether or not he could play, if it was playable. It was to id and identity that he was addressing. Exactly what I'm talking about here. Identity, you know. So he couldn't see this kid being a better version of himself with this fake fender, which may or may not played as well as a new one. He didn't say that. I'm sure the Epiphone that he traded him for is great, as I said. But that thought, that identity, that identity, even he said it. So it's out there. You can't say that it doesn't exist. Maddie Two Heads, sorry, my eyes are just warming up here. It's all right. I think the light within heard what I was trying to say to him. So he can't be too sore. I think the possibility of something is a great point, Mike. We all hope something new is going to move us to the next level because we're always being bombarded with everything in our lives. Move yourself to the next level, improve yourself, be the better you. Like Liberace, you know, and it's no different when it comes to selling us stuff, and it's no different than when it comes to gear. I figured out it's the promise of what that whatever that thing is, whether it delivers it or not, is the sales point. I think of all the stuff that I've bought, it was always because there was the promise that it was going to improve this, or the promise that it was going to make this easier, or this, that, or the other. And sometimes it did. I'm not going to say that it was all, hopes and dreams. It was actually tangible. Some of the stuff actually did work, but most of it, I I've gone from this to this down to this. And with this, I can do as much as I did at any one of those stages at this point. Took time and a lot of soul searching. And also understanding that the promise of something is not the same as something that you already have, that you know. So that promise again is tied into a better version of ourselves. Like I didn't want that kid to go out there because he didn't think he was going to get crushed because he was a bad player, but because everybody was going to roust him because it was a fake fender. Which, by the way, I don't know if I don't know if that really would have happened. I think that's something that would have happened in an adult circle. I don't think that's something that would happen among a bunch of teenagers per se. My God, I hope not. I hope the teenagers out there these days have not become gear snobs. That would suck and be very untenable as well. When you get a pedal or a guitar or something, you imagine the riffs that you'll write with it, the gigs, the recordings, even if it ends up next to three other pedals that we absolutely needed, still we're going to have that thought that this is one more thing I can add to this pile of things that I already have is going to make that difference. And that's okay. Collecting gear is part of the culture. Just be aware of why it feels good and and ask yourself, is this just a promise of making me a better me? And the better you is the you that, you know, is good with just, the basics, the warts and all. I'm take me as I am. And don't worry about other people because that's externalization kind of thing too. When you're thinking of the premise or the promise of being a better version of yourself, that's because you're looking for external projection to tell you that, or an external device, or external people. Not just a pedal, it can be a person or people as well. When you don't care about any of that, you know, and I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna be my own man like Liberace. I keep saying that because that line is in Under the Cherry Moon, and I never understood what the hell Prince meant by that when he wrote that. But it's funny anyway to say. But that's the truth of it. And if you stop caring about what other folks think and worry about what you think, that's the most important thing. And if you think it's good, then I'm sure there'll be people out there who will say the same. And tone in that regard really is emotional. It's not logical. So you have to become your get out your inner Mr. Spock. Bring out that inner Vulcan, or if you're, female, your inner T'Pol. But but bring out that inner Vulcan nevertheless and apply logic this time of year, particularly this season, because the bells are jingling everywhere. They're jangling. Jingle bells everywhere. Jingle bell rock. Everywhere you go, around the clock. So just watch it, Be aware of that. You know, and of course at Christmas is the time of year when you want more gear. Of course, because you're bombarded with it. Michael Watson says there's probably a little disappointment in every piece of gear. Or yeah, disappointment or regret or out and out regret. I think because yeah, not everything. It's funny um, as I'm tearing down and putting stuff away and rethinking about. I'm still going to play. I still have to play. Don't get me wrong. But as I look at what I scaled down to and run through my brain the possibilities, I actually use some of it to record a little bit, and it just sounds great. You guys heard that track I played for you a couple of months back. That was recorded completely using this board, and the guitar sounds and the solo and all that just sounded beautiful. You wouldn't have never known. Uh, and I could record it using different amps, uh, simulated, but still the same. And that's a huge step. And I am amazed by that. I'm still, maybe I haven't gotten completely, what do you call it, jaded on new gear. Or this age of gear that we're in. I'm just blown away because if I had something like this back when I was gigging in Japan, I I I probably have gotten a lot more gigs. Or I certainly would have been able to make the lives that I played, especially when I was in the cover bands. I could have really gotten that sound of whatever that recording that we were trying to play up on stage. I could have really gotten it. Got it with the keyboards because I could sample stuff, and especially in Sonic was my main keyboard on stage. If you guys remember the Sonic sampler keyboard. But the stuff these days, I would have loved to have had it. I'm sure a lot of you as well. But again, know when to hold them, when to fold them at Christmas time because they are appealing to your psyche. They know these things. They know how to work it. They know to play the major keys, as I said, in order to get you in that nice holiday mood with the bright lights and the maybe candles and smells. Of course, all that stuff is geared to get you to buy different things. You know, I don't know if they've ever come out with a clone scented candle. As a matter of fact, that may be a business idea. But I bet you, if they did, I'd be walking through the shop at like that smells like a clone Centaur pedal. Damn it, they got me. Let me get two. And that's kind of how it works, man. It's this is the psychology of it. That's the secret psychology of sales. You know, the holiday gear trap is what I labeled tonight's discussion because that's exactly what it is. It's a trap. Forget your inner Vulcan. Bring out your Admiral Akbar doll and put it on your shoulder. Every time you go out to the mall. Just stick Admiral Akbar right doll right on your shoulder. And when you're in the shop and you see a guitar or something, look at him and say, "What do you think?" You know what his answer is going to be. It's just that time of year, and I couldn't resist. Um, I couldn't resist tying those two thoughts together. The last, um, hold on, let me see if I can find this. The last discussion and the Christmas holiday seasons, because it kind of all just jumbled together in my head. Um, and I find that just to be fascinating, just to show you how I tie those things together and how I see it, because I do see the two of those being extremely related with each other. Catch up here in the chat. Michael Watson says, I got to delay sent a candle, but the scent keeps coming and going. That's a good one. I like that. I like when somebody picks up the ball and runs it and hits it and gets it past the goal. That's a good one. So I thought for fun, we talked about how sound triggers emotion in listeners. But the real power move is you can use it intentionally in your playing, in your writing, and your own tone shaping, as well as I pointed out. But you can also use it to be aware of the psychology of it. They go hand in hand with each other. So warm, clean tones generally are going to deal with nostalgia, comfort, and intimacy. So, for example, Christmas song like "It's Warm, Baby, It's Cold Outside." For example, you guys know that one, that Christmas song, "Baby, It's Cold Outside." Um, that you know is built upon the premise of the comfort and the intimacy lyrically. If you read the lyrics of that song, and it's written in a very bright major uh, key, nice warm tones, things of that nature. Um, Minor chords, of course, bring about melancholy and mostly, and this time of year, the darkness of winter. Um, and I think that's why you would be hard pressed to find a Christmas song written in a minor chord. As a matter of fact, let me look that up. Is there a Christmas song? I'll do it live, damn it. Song in minor key. Not that I can think of. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, yeah. None of these are major songs. Carol of the Bells, don't know that one. God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, I know that one. That's a minor tone one. As a matter of fact, speaking of Big Bang Theory, in one of the episodes, Sheldon sings that. And yeah, it's ugh. O Come, Emmanuel. I don't know that one either. I don't know that one. Um, you know, you can take a major key song, a popular song like Jingle Bells, for example, and you can turn it into a minor key. Um, I hate to use television for example of this, but I've just been watching a lot of old TV recently because I can't stand any of the new Hollywood stuff. I was watching that '70s show, Christmas episodes, because again, as I said in the beginning, I'm watching all the Christmas episodes of my favorite TV shows this time of year leading up to Christmas. I always do it. And they turned uh, that song was a major key. They made Jingle Bells, no, Joy to the World. They stuck in the theme, the opening theme, but they made it minor, and it kind of worked. So you can do things like that, but Christmas songs and any song in general that's trying to be uplifting and happy is not going to be in a minor key, as we know. So no minor keys at Christmas. Again, the psychology at work there. They know keep it major key, keep it major key, keep it happy, keep it warm, keep it bright, keep it comfortable, keep it intimate, and intimate, and that gives you the big thumbs up with everybody. And sorry, catch up in the chat. Run Riot sounds like all the minor ones are church songs. Yeah, like old, you know, back in the day, I would say 13th, 14th, 15th century kind of stuff. If I'm reading these titles, if I were to take a guess, I probably wouldn't be that far off. So yeah, dig that. But again, the psychology of this, guys. And um it really ties into what you do production wise. As I don't want to get into that too much. I just want to point that out. That key is so important. I don't know. I think a lot of things these days, because it's a lot of drag and drop producers out there, they'll hear a song and maybe they're good enough to hear the least, the tone of it. They may not know what key it is, but they end up all copying each other. And that's why a lot of the modern music sounds like it's all in the same key as well. I just, or for other reasons that are related to that. And if I think about when I was growing up, not just during the holiday season, but during the rest of the year, uh, in the '70s and '80s and '90s, the variety of music and the chord changes. Just think about Stevie Wonder's, "Do I Do," for example. Summer of 1980 or '79 that came out. I heard that. I was like, "Holy crap! Listen to that." Chord changes, just beautiful melodies, everything like that. I mean, if I could go into, you know, Dire Straits, their melodies and their chord changes and a lot of their tracks were good. I mean, just all around, and not just one genre, but in most of them. Now, not so much. Not so much. And that's interesting to me because I wonder, I mentioned all of this just to say, I wonder if they are really trying to limit the keys that songs that are being produced and put out on the major distributors in order to have these same kind of psychological effects on us, you And just a little bit of a sidetrack there, but just kind of related, but just a thought. If the holiday music has been written specifically in order to elicit nostalgia and and this kind of reaching back to our childhoods, then certainly a lot of other forms of music that are out now probably are the same, not that much different. But the Christmas season really does give us a good opportunity to see how this plays in real life. because it's so in our face. Right here down the street near me, they're having a fairly large, I'd say about a 5-minute walk from me, 10-minute walk. They're having a fairly large Christmas market. And when you're walking through that, you get inundated with the sounds of Christmas music and the smells of the food cooking, especially coming from the Ollie Bone cart. That's these little fried dough balls that they sprinkle in powdered sugar here and give you a whole warm, fresh, bag of those, and they're actually pretty nice. They begin with powdered sugar or cinnamon, olive bowling, and the smell of that when you walk by, it's like sugar and cinnamon and frying stuff, and combine that with the jingle bell music and all that. You're like, you know what? I haven't had a bag of Oli Bong in a while. Let me come up here and buy a bag. They got me in the mood for it. And then you walk up and you realize that you're paying €3 more this year than you paid last year, which is exactly what I did. I was like, wait a minute, these things are more expensive than they were when I first moved here. And so obviously, well, this will be the last bag that I buy. But still, there is that. Maddie Two Hat says, even if I want a hit of nostalgia, I just go to eBay and buy old CDs dirt cheap. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of ways to satisfy that, you know, quite intelligently. And the secondhand market for just about everything is a good answer to that. And you can't go wrong doing that, saving money. Michael says, we were at a Christmas market yesterday and it was amazing fun. Yeah, yeah. I plan on going to one down the street here, not down the street, but the next city in Harlem next weekend, next Saturday. I'm going to take my dog down there, and her and I are going to walk around and see what we can see. And I'm looking forward to that. But my youngest dog, May, Hoshi, my oldest dog, no, she won't go for that. But too many people. But it's still, I'm going to be inundated, and I am I going to be able to resist, buying something? It's hard to say. Even I knowing all this and going through all these things with you, there will be something there, that will hit my nostalgia. I was walking again, like I said, by the Ollie Bolton cart, and the Christmas music and the crowds and the gray skies and everything. I was like, yeah, I haven't had a bag of that in a while, and it got me. But I could have easily just said, I'm good, and walked on and said, I don't need them that bad. But I consider that to be an innocent kind of thing, a 5, 6-year-old bag of sweets is not a bad thing compared to a $1,500 guitar. I can live with one. The other one would be a bad idea economically, and it's not going to make me a better person either. I already know that. So just those thoughts on that, guys. And again, it's neuroscience that works. And the more aware of that you are, the more diabolical I suppose you could be in order to use that. But also, just being aware of it from a consumer standpoint will help you as well. Um, Psychology, marketing, and music theory is what you're experiencing when you walk through something like a Christmas market. All those things and nostalgia, all wrapped in the pretty bow of nostalgia, all of those things are a effect when you walk through a Christmas market, when you go online and you look at Sweetwater's holiday tone bundle. Again, what the hell is a tone bundle? It's all of those things. They're there in different shapes and forms, but they're there. And again, when you're inoculated with a little bit of wisdom regarding how that works, then the chances of you being infected are very low, very low. You've built you have a resistance to it. And that's what it really is. And that's what I always try to get across, especially I thought this would be the perfect time of year in order to talk about this. I like my JPEG for this YouTube live stream, the holiday gear trap. If you look under Santa Claus rocking out on a Les Paul, you'll see I put in text down there. Uh, what did I say? Holiday gas. Is that what I said? Let me check that JPEG. Um, Something like that. Yeah, seasonal gas. And I thought this seasonal gas this I thought it was so hilarious when I designed it on my AI program, my Wondershare, which also I use for editing videos. My Wondershare, I guess all video software these days now, but I've been using Wondershare for 10 years now. Um, and they have an AI component now where I can start doing stuff like this. And that just cracked me up. I thought I saw that in seasonal gas. I said, somebody certainly is going to appreciate this one. Oh boy. All right. So there is that. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, I just think it's funny. So avoid the seasonal gas. don't don't get everybody to get up and suddenly have to leave the room because of your seasonal gas. Be mindful. You know, you really could clear the room with seasonal gas, especially if it's your family. You're like, you're unwrapping all the cool stuff you got, and everybody else got a pin set and a toothbrush. Yeah, don't be a Scrooge McDuck. But also, again, like I've said, use logic. Um, Understand it's a trap and it's designed that way. And if there's something you really need, or if there's something sincerely that you want to get, certainly this is the time of year for a young person who's interested in guitar to get their first guitar, or an update, or a pedal or something like that. That's fine. That's great. And that's something that's going to start them on their road, their trip down to seasonal gas. But that's okay. But for yourself, as a reasonable adult, using logic and not letting nostalgia and all these other tricks affect your psyche, that you can make determinations on what you really need and what you don't need. I as I was putting stuff and rewiring and taking unwiring the studio here, and I was thinking, well, you're really serious about this. You're really not going to do any kind of recording anymore, have a permanent setup. Like, no, I'm not. I'm very serious about it. It's not because I'm in angst over the direction of AI music per se, although I must say that the damage of it is already being shown. And nor do I think, and I think also the real villains to blame in that have not really been. Maybe I'll discuss that in another live stream. Who I really blame, who I really should be blamed about regarding the AI thing, music thing. But it's just a feeling that you need to know inside of yourself when it's time to walk away and go other creative avenues. There are other creative avenues that I plan on going down. I've always wanted to write my book, and I think that I could write a very interesting book, very interesting tale, and that would be something that would require a lot of time, and a lot of my concentration. Talking about the journey going across the world and back, and all the things that I saw, and all the scandalous stuff that I don't talk about that I saw or was involved in. I must admit, but it'll be other avenues for that creativity to go. So that's okay for me, and because I can look back on my body of work, and people can access it all over the world if they so choose. It's there. It's no longer up here in my head. I did get some of it out, a lot of it out, and that's just me. Whereas there are other cats who want to, my Uncle Carlton is the same way as well. My Uncle Carlton, is 83 years old, and he hung it up 10 years ago or so for the exact same reasons that I have. We both can agree upon that. And, but it's individual to individual. So there is that. But don't be discouraged um, by that kind of change. Just put that energy or plan to put that energy into other spaces. Mr. Watson says, my wife is a guitarist also, so we buy each other a piece of music gear every Christmas. That's great. My lead guitarist in my band, Asanoki Keigo Watanabe, and his wife had their own band as well. And she was the bassist in his band. And I told you the story. Christmas time came, and we went to a music shop to pick up the gift that he got for his wife, and it was a pedal. And I was blown away, man. I was like, man, really? You gonna give your wife a pedal, a bass pedal for Christmas? He's like, yeah, yeah. She said she really wanted. This is what she wanted. I was like, man, either this is gonna go off real badly for him, or I've got to marry a bassist or a guitarist, not a drummer, because that'd be so awesome. So I kind of envy that. That's actually pretty sweet, actually, that you guys have that's a great thing to have in a marriage, to have a shared interest like that. So yeah, don't be afraid to exercise your consumerism this time of year. Tis the season to do so. But be aware when you hear the music, say, hey, that's what Mike was talking about. Boy, they're really trying to amp me up to open up my wallet. And this may not have been the day that I decided to do that. So you don't walk away with regretted purchases. You're not standing in line January 2nd in the return line with something returns. So keep those things in mind, guys. Just keep in mind. I mention this stuff because I find it damn fascinating. And it's one of the reasons why I do this live stream is to talk about the things that I find damn fascinating. See, there's so many things in this music scene to discuss. I could, of course, I mean, certainly, you know, by the way, you can tell that I've been hanging on to this for a while now. So, and then, I actually kind of like this one. I enjoy playing it, but we could talk more about these things. But the things that these things do and what they create, and how those creations are used in order to affect us, is a very interesting thing as well, not just the things that they do and how those things are used in order to get you to buy more of these things. And it kind of goes in a cycle, a circle. And that's funny to me. In my mind, again, I think about that. I'm like, wow, dig that. Dig that. And I think if you have that in mind, again, like I said, if you're slightly inoculated against that, if you're aware of those and how the psychology is in play there, the nostalgia, you know, the building a better you, how all that's being used, then I think in the end you'll be all right. You'll be okay. All right, guys. Um, it's Monday tomorrow. I got an early one tomorrow, so I am going to sign off. We've done a good hour. Yeah, we've done an hour, over an hour. Great, fantastic. I didn't know I had an hour's worth of material in me with that one. When I kind of timed it out, it was not an hour, but somehow I stretched it. And I thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen, whether you're listening to this live or if you're listening to this on the rerun. I want to say thank you very, very much. Maddie, thanks for stepping in and doing the mod duties tonight. I appreciate that, sir. Thank you so much. And thanks to the rest of you guys. Run Riot, it's good to see you, sir. Don't be a stranger. It's so glad to see the rest of you guys here as always. I hope you found something really good in this discussion tonight and worthwhile. And I want to say God bless each and every one of you. I will see you, God willing, this Wednesday night for the Wednesday night hump. You guys talk, you guys take care. Almost said toke care, but that's for the stoners down the street. All right, you guys take care. Bye bye.